CBS News, Texas.
Right now at 5 o'clock, Texas bracing for statewide protests while it appears there's a divide between the governor's office and some local law enforcement leaders on how to handle them. Why one expert tells us this could lead to big problems. National Guard troops ahead of planned protests against federal immigration raids happening all across the state.
Here in North Texas, we know several protests are planned for this weekend. We'll be covering them for you. But Carmen is joining us live right now. And can I understand you're hearing some criticism about the plan that's in place right now?
Yeah, quite a bit of it, as a matter of fact, Nicole. We know several cities, like San Antonio, for example, they are bracing themselves for protests that begin tonight. And their local officials held a news conference earlier today to talk about it. At this moment, it seems like local authorities are not really in communication with the governor or the National Guard. One expert I spoke with says that could be disastrous.
While the ICE raid protests and riots carry on in L.A., Governor Greg Abbott is defending his decision to activate the Texas National Guard to areas in the state planning to see similar protests.
First of all, we want to make sure that what has happened in California does not happen in Texas. Texas is a law and order state, and we will use every tool that we can to ensure order across our state.
San Antonio's police chief spoke to reporters about the real possibility of troops going to his city despite not asking for the help.
If they happen to be deployed when we're here, we will make we'll make contact with the commander of that force.
Chief William McManus said as of Wednesday morning he hasn't contacted the National Guard and they haven't reached out to him either.
Do I wish they would? Sure. They don't have a responsibility to tell me what they're doing, and nor do I have a belief that they have an obligation to do so.
The absence of that communication, according to criminologist and Tarleton State professor Alex Del Carmen, can be catastrophic.
But the disconnect is actually very dangerous because what it does is it provokes not only for the law enforcement and in this case the National Guard members to be at risk of their lives and also being victimized, but also they're risking the individuals that are involved in the protest. When government does not communicate with each other, with each of the components, we can risk people's lives, in a way that we may not even imagine it.
Dr. Del Carmen says calling in the National Guard before they're needed has a double-edged effect. It can make protesters feel protected, but it can also escalate an already tense environment.
And instead, you're going to show up with batons, and you're going to show up with rifles, with, AR-15s, and you're going to show up with tanks. That is going to provoke a crowd to become even more violent.
Well, the governor has not offered any details as to how many troops and where exactly they're going to be sent, just to say that they would go to several cities throughout the state with these planned protests. I can tell you, though, that North Texas, here at home, we are expected to have several protests beginning on Friday and going into the weekend. So as you said, Nicole, we're going to keep a very close eye on this one, guys.
All right, we've got you covered, and you too, Ken. Thank you so much.